that's been here all along. They're dropping like flies whenever I'm around. So used to goodbye, there's comfort in the sound. Maybe I'm the monster that's been here all along.
Hey. Blast from the past, right? Hi, my little Gabby Hanna monsters. Just something new I'm trying out. I know we all hate it, so hi besties. Sorry, I retract it. Today, we are going to be talking about something that has been so requested, and I have a lot to show you. This is, I predicted a lot, and we're gonna get into it. Okay. So we are going to be talking about Andrew and Garrett's new podcast. There is actually some little tea around it I need to share with you. And also, Andrew and Garrett hearted my comment on their post, so y'all saying that these videos get me nowhere and I don't get noticed by anyone, bitch, fuck you. Let me show you. Okay, so as we're aware, Garrett and Andrew have started their new podcast. They posted the first ever episode of it. It's called We Have No Idea What We're Doing. It is 1 hour and 6 minutes long. I have just finished watching the entire thing. I watched, I think, 30 minutes of it when it first came out, but then I had a lot of work to do, so I just caught up on it, and we're gonna talk about it, but let me just say that this podcast is actually very brilliant, and I told you from the start that I was excited to watch this just because, one, I enjoy both of these people. I enjoy Garrett and I enjoy Andrew. Two, they're both very attractive, so I mean, they've won me over in that retrospect. And three, their dynamic together is just perfect. So, you were all aware that, you know, I was gonna be there, so a lot of you actually saw me in the comment section of their podcast, and you were like, oh, Adam's here, and I was like, bitch, I don't lie, I'm gonna watch this. So, I actually commented and said, we will be watching, and Andrew and Garrett actually hearted the comment, and if you go on their podcast right now, it's actually one of the recommended comments because it got so much engagement. Thanks, bestie! I feel so powerful. Now, before we get into the tea surrounding this, I just want to show you something, okay? Now, a lot of people did not see this coming with Garrett and Andrew joining forces and doing it at a very shady time in relation to Shane and Rylan, which we will get to. But I want to tell you that I not only manifested this, I said that this was going to happen. Like, way past manifestation, I knew this was going to happen. And people, whenever in the moment, were calling me a bullshitter, were saying that I was reaching, were saying that I'm just lying. Let me tell you, I'm going to pull up a video from summer in which I predicted all of this. All of this, bitch. Let me show you. Why do I have a chewing gum in my mouth at the start of every video? That went into another candle. So you bet your ass I have timestamps prepared for this. So I posted a video in summer called Andrew Speaking Up Against Shane Dawson. It was posted on the 15th of July 2020, and in this video I make some predictions on what Andrew was going to do next. Now I have my timestamps and I'm just going to read through these with you. I have a few moments to show you. Let's begin, okay? Leasebug, Shane's ex. Julie said he's gonna stay quiet. I bet he signed an NDA or whatever. But I doubt after Shane got cancelled so hard that he's gonna be able to pay Andrew, Andrew's gonna have to find work with other YouTubers, like perhaps Garrett. Now, Andrew could literally work with Garrett, and I do see that. Hold on, I'm thinking. Yeah, I can see him working with Garrett. Or work on his own channel. Now, at this stage, if Andrew created his own channel, he'd have his own fan base. You know what I mean? And he could probably make more doing his own commissioned work than working for Shane's channel, which is now demonetized. That's all I'm saying, honey. Jar Jar Star. Okay, so to prove that point, this podcast has done exceptionally well and has topped Rylan Adams' new podcast, which, keep in mind, Shane Dawson did his comeback on YouTube, right? He did his comeback, sorry, not on YouTube, I mean on Instagram, promoting Rylan's podcast, where he said that Rylan didn't want him to do it, but it was such a special day. So Rylan had everything, you know, all the balls in his court to, you know, have a really successful podcast. And here Andrew and Garrett come getting more subscribers and more views on their podcast, like literally in the millions. So my point that I said that they would have a bigger following doing their own shit and on their own channel, both those things have came true. But that's not the only point we're gonna go through, okay? Isn't invited to things with Shane and Ryland unless he needs to. I look so different in my opinion. It's the hair, bestie. And they seem like real Here we go. Friends. Andrew, go work for Garrett full time. Woo! I'll support it. Whitney said. Okay, so another little timestamp, but there's more, bestie. Also paid him for his silence. You know what I mean? We don't know. Vanessa Vuki said, I feel like Andrew will totally stay silent and get a new job filming for another creator, and that could happen. And I do believe that'll happen, and it will be Garrett. I'm like manifesting it. He shouldn't get involved. He should. Okay, I manifested it. And what happened, besties? Here we are. Podcast. But that's not all I said. So let's continue.
Camera guy. Well, apparently he's Shane's family. Unless something comes up against him, which I highly doubt, I think he's better off leaving it. Leaving them both behind and starting fresh. Maybe making his own documentaries with Garrett. Yes, everyone wants them together, and so do I. I'd love to see that. Elizabeth said,
another moment. So, back then, can I tell you that whenever I did this video, I received so much backlash for ever insinuating that Andrew and Garrett would meet up and work together? Who's laughing now, bestie? Who's laughing now? I should become a psychic. Would you come to my readings?
Bloom said, I feel like Andrew has already distanced himself from Shane and is finally fleeing the mess. Now again, that could have happened. Missy Amy said, he'll stay quiet in my opinion. I feel like he's a lot like Garrett. Oh my god, everyone is making them like parallels. I'm telling you, we're all manifesting it. And maybe slowly distance himself.
So not only me, but my intelligent ass audience. Y'all, well done. Good work, team. There's more!
It's probably time for Andrew to get a new job. Maybe he's scared to say anything about the situation. Time will tell.
I manifested.
Wow, you gave 5 points in one comment. Period. Piper said he might decide to become Garrett's cameraman and do the same style of content but with someone more likable and less problematic. And I think that would be the best thing to come out of this. JDN said, I don't think he will. Shane is his employer.
Okay.
He's probably paid well.
Who manifested that they were going to work together? Angie. Not me having to watch my own ads. And the final point before we get into the tea.
In my opinion, I think Andrew has definitely signed a work contract. He kind of has to. If he hasn't, then that's dumb on Shane's behalf, and I don't believe Shane's dumb. I don't believe Jeffrey's dumb. He's definitely seen a lot of shady things from doing both of them series, and he also is a work partner, so he has to brainstorm the ideas, and he has been pretty silent, and it's really weird, so I think he won't risk losing his job, but I can really see him stepping back and working for Garrett more as a pastime while Shane is not making videos, and then it kind of turns into a more professional thing and he works for Garrett full time. I can really see that because I don't know what's going to happen with Shane making content on his demonetized.
Now keep in mind, Garrett and Andrew started filming YouTube videos together and then it turned into a more professional thing and now they have a podcast. Exactly what I said. Who was the one who predicted this? Me. Who got attacked for it? Me! Like, oh my god. Y'all need to start trusting me, okay? Y'all need to start trusting me. I planted the seed, and it grew. Now let's get into the tea. Sorry, I just did that to be shady and prove my point. This podcast is brilliant. Literally so good. But referencing my first point, in my video where I last talked about this, I said it was going to be interesting to see how many views their first ever podcast, video got. Because their one announcing it got over 1 million views, which none of Ryland's have been able to do. Now keep in mind, Shane Dawson came full force to promote Ryland's podcast and hasn't said a single word or interacted with any posts in relation to his friend Andrew and his friend Garrett's podcast, which he would normally do regularly, right? And if he can come back for Ryland's, you think he would come back for theirs. But in my opinion, what I believed happened was they knew, Ryland, that Andrew was going to do this podcast with Garrett and that it was going to be a huge success, so that's why he came to push Ryland's one. But obviously what people are saying, I'm not going to be the one to say it, you can read through my comment section, but I am going to be the one to say it. People said that they just would much rather listen to Andrew and Garrett than Ryland. People think that Ryland as a person isn't the most interesting on his own, and he has a co-host, but then again, so do they. It's all your personal opinion. You may find Ryland very interesting. I said in my last video that I would prefer watching Andrew and Garrett's, and it's just interesting that Shane hasn't interacted with any of theirs, considering that Andrew is still employed by Shane? Question mark? Allegedly. So it's like, wouldn't you give the same energy? Or this is just them, completely cut off, which is another thing I predicted, right? It's weird how there's so much for Ryland and none for them, especially when it comes to a podcast and Shane is seemingly still being quiet on social media. It was full force. We did a video. He did so many Instagram stories, even saying that Ryland didn't want him to do it, but he knew in his heart that he needed to come on and promote Ryland's podcast. I believe there's more to that. People are saying he was just coming on to, support his fiancée. Okay, that's a theory. Another theory is they knew that Andrew and Garrett were going to have a very successful one, so they wanted to jump the gun, get Ryland's one to already have a built-in audience and be really successful, and it just kind of fell flat. Allegedly. Well, I mean, the views show that, but you know what I mean? Their one is doing super well. The comedy in it is amazing. Their natural ability, by the way, to have conversations and interest just between them, it's phenomenal. I feel like I'm talking about Emma Chamberlain right now. I always toot up her ass whenever I talk about her, but I'm doing the same here. They're both so lovable. They're both so endearing. Natural conversations. They are doing something I haven't seen in many podcasts before, which they do sound effects and they do editing in the video podcast. And overall, it's brilliant, entertaining, and kept my attention. And I think with Andrew's incredible ability at editing and Garrett, his natural ability at having conversations, it'll always be interesting, and it's so nice seeing this different side of Andrew. So many people have messaged me and be like, Adam, like, are you noticing that Andrew is like a different person now? He's so much more confident, he's speaking up, and it's like, whenever you're looking at Shane's videos with Andrew, you looked at him like the cameraman who laughed. You know, like the sitcom laugh, and that irritated the fuck out of me. I'm gonna say that straight up about Andrew. It really was like, okay, the laugh, like, we get it. Not that I didn't like his laugh, but it was just we never got to learn about Andrew the person other than when Shane needed to like exploit him for a video. You know, like my cameraman goes for a date or something like that. You know what I mean? It's so nice seeing Andrew's personality because again, he has a beautiful personality in these podcasts. And Garrett as well. They're both made for this. And I can see this being so successful. And for their first episode, Mike, great. Setup, great. Ability to have a conversation, great. Enjoyable. Normally when I'm watching a podcast video, I'm like, okay, we're like 30 minutes in, we have another 20 minutes. Time passed whenever I was watching this one because it was interesting, enjoyable, and I fuck with it. I fuck with them and I fuck with this. People are always like, what YouTubers do you like? Them. This was enjoyable. And so, again, I think it's very telling why Shane hasn't interacted in the slightest with this podcast, but yet went above and beyond with Ryland's. Because a couple months ago, before the drama, surely he would have, you know, interacted with their podcast. And it's like more and more of his friends are pulling back from him and they're not interacting like they used to. And I think that's something to know. You may be like, oh, Adam, you're reaching. Okay, we'll look back on this video in 4 months and we'll see what else I fucking predicted. You know what I mean? You can have your own opinions of it, but I actually wanted to know what y'all were thinking, and we're gonna get into some of that. I asked my subscribers, and I haven't done this in a while, and I'm so excited to bring back this format where I ask for your opinions. I said, in regards to my newest video, what is your opinion of Garrett and Andrew branching off from ex-friend and ex-employer to make their own content together? Are you here for it? What is your take on the drastic difference in how this podcast is being received and how Ryland's is? Because there's really a big difference, even in the comment section with people. Let's just say Garrett and Andrew's comment section isn't flooded with Shane comments, but Ryland's is. I think that'll speak for itself. And I do think Shane will go on Ryland's podcast. Quote me on that. But if it doesn't happen, then whatever. Considering these two are on their own and Shane didn't promote their podcast, let's talk. Your opinions will be read in a video. And let's get into them. Teddy Bear Game said, I think Garrett and Andrew are way better than Shane's bad energy, but I won't diss Ryland because he had nothing to do with it. Okay? I can legitimately say that their content is wholesome. Garrett and Andrew are naturally hilarious. And you're seeing a lot of people use the word like naturally funny, naturally talkative, just with this, which is nice to see because it's rare, especially with YouTubers these days. And off the cuff without resorting to cheap, dirty humor. Again, they did not talk about drama on this podcast, which was a good move for them. It just shows that they don't need it. I believe Garrett went to film school, so quite frankly, his editing is far superior than Shane's. His vlogs have more of a clear focus overall and managed to retain and, you know, keep the theme of fun, chaotic stuff in between. I think he partially jokes about procrastination, which makes him a normal person, but I feel like he has a lot of love and care and attention to detail, and that's what makes this content worth waiting for and watching. Maddie said Garrett and Andrew pretty much carried Shane's videos anyway, which is weird because we're seeing a lot of people say that. Garrett and Andrew weren't really associated with Shane during his problematic past, so I feel that they should be allowed to grow and move on. Joyful Maddie said, I actually really like that they've done this. It seems like they're trying to get away from their image from being Shane's ex-friend and more their own people. It's definitely the better move for them, and we're all here for it. Let me ask the audience, are you here for it? Tick yes or yes. Yes, right? Hunter said Shane didn't like or interact with any of the posts they did promoting it. That says it all, especially whenever he went above and beyond with Ryland's again. It's like a competition going on here. And I get it, that's what, you know, who can get more views, who can get more engagement, but it's obvious who did. Not Mariah, but Andrew and Garrett. Sweetie I'm Shook said, I think it's great for Garrett and Andrew to separate themselves from the negativity that was in their life. Meg said, realize that the only reason that I liked Shane's content was because of Garrett and Andrew. Yes, Shane's chaotic energy was sometimes funny, but it was only because Garrett and Andrew were the ones that were making it all laugh and everything enjoyable. For them to branch out was exciting for me to find out. Just seeing Andrew in Garrett's videos makes my day, but now this podcast, finally something goes right in 2020. Alex Ring said, I feel like Garrett and Andrew probably aren't going to talk about Shane at all in their podcast, although I would love to hear their take on everything. But I feel like Ryland is going to make his podcast his own thing, but Shane will be a guest at some points. Hey said, I honestly don't mind. I think it's really good because Shane always put Garrett down in his videos anyway, and I wasn't here for it. Shelly Shah said, I love their bromance so much. I'll just listen to anything they put out. Their personalities are so vibrant, and that's such a great description of these two men. Vibrant, enjoyable, lovable, endearing. Why am I simping over them? Are you simping over that? Make me feel better. Validate me. Mia said, to be honest, talking about Ryland in regards to his podcast, I feel like a lot of people that watched Shane didn't necessarily like Ryland. I remember him having to address certain things he said in videos because people were annoyed with him. In my opinion, I think some people watch Ryland's channel just to see Shane in them or Morgan. And since his new podcast has none of them in it, it could be a large factor as to why people are not tuning in. Mary Jane said, I've never really liked Ryland. I'm not sure why. But Andrew and Garrett I absolutely adore and cannot wait to watch more of their podcasts. I guess they just come off as real and genuine. Ryland just comes off as some valley girl trying to follow the next trend. Well, Mary Jane Doe, you were bad for that comment, and you know where I'm sending you? Jail. Pack your stuff. No. Jail. Liz said, I think that Andrew and Garrett are genuinely done with Shane and Ryland, and I think this is their way of metaphorically saying we're done by launching a podcast really soon after Ryland launched his. And now, I think as well, the timing of both these podcasts, I get that everyone's doing a podcast these days, but the timing was just so close to Ryland starting his. But you can have your own opinion of what you think about that. I'll read out one more. Principal T said, I'm so proud of them. In the recent video by Garrett, they're clearly having so much fun and are true friends. Not just acquaintances or friendly co-workers like Shane and Andrew. Andrew looks incredible and it really melts my heart to see him so comfy in front of the camera, which is what I'm saying at the start of this video. I can't wait for the podcast. It's going to be so good to see more episodes. I'm so happy they branched off and I'm glad they have. I have no interest whatsoever in Ryland's podcast, but the idea of Garrett and Andrew doing so sounds very wholesome and iconic and I can't wait. So yeah guys, what's your opinion? The podcast has officially launched, it's doing so well, people are loving it, and I'm really happy for them. And I think I want to do this video, especially talking about it, since we did the last one before the podcast came out, and I want to update you on the numbers. So if we go on their channel right here, we can see that, by the way, the setup and everything is just adorable on it. So they have nearly 400,000 subscribers, nearly 500,000 already with 2 videos. Their first video has 1.5 million, and their video that they just uploaded nearly has 700,000 or 600,000. So doing really well. And congrats, I hope they're thriving. They seem to be from their podcast. And yeah, guys, you can go watch it. You'll enjoy it. This is not sponsored. And yeah, I will see you in my next one. Not this video being like 20 minutes of me simping over them. I need to evaluate myself. Bye.